It is Thursday, February 3rd. This is Jaguars Happy Hour. And now, a guy who'll fight to retain the name, Commander J.P. Shadrick.
Welcome in. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on a Thursday afternoon and a busy show ahead. Well, there's really no new news yet, but here's what's coming up. Jaguars analyst Jeff Lageman is coming up. Haven't seen him in a few weeks. Jaguars continue the coaching search. There are rumors and reports. We'll get to some of those. We'll take a look at the NFL head coach tracker, teams that have hired and the teams that have yet to hire head coaches. The Jaguars interview tracker as well, names that they have interviewed and maybe are currently. Who knows? We'll look at that coming up. We'll, of course, go around the National Football League. A busy offseason already around the league. Newsworthy, and it's not even the Super Bowl yet. Jeff Lageman with us now, Jaguars analyst. Good afternoon. What's up, Logs?
Good afternoon.
Yeah, nice hat.
Haven't seen you in about, 3-4 weeks, something like that?
Has it been that long?
It's been a hot minute.
So was it the season? Yeah, I guess it was.
It was.
You weren't on last week. Yeah, that would be.
I was on vacation last week, JP.
Yeah, well, good, and rightly so.
Yeah, no, it was good. I had a little trip to the mountains of Tennessee, and I got to see what the Smoky Mountains are all about. So it was a great vacation, great getaway. Thought for sure that the Jaguars would have a head coach hired by then, but not.
Well, the reports were they were close, and then they weren't, and maybe they're close again, but who knows? We have not seen the white smoke out of the chimney yet.
I really believed that this job last year was the most attractive in the National Football League. You had a first overall draft pick with the possibility of drafting Trevor Lawrence. You had a team that was flush with cap room, that had a full array of draft picks. And then Urban Meyer is hired. And I really believe that this could have been the number one most attractive job as well this year. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, it hasn't been that. And you can point to a lot of different things, but the fact of the matter is that 5 openings have been filled before this one has been filled. And if this was the number one attractive job, then people would have been holding out hope to get this job at some point. And so here it is, there's 4 openings left. This team is one of them. And we're still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen. And I think that's a very curious situation to go from last year, this being the hot job to take and the number one job to take, where it could have been this year. And then all of a sudden, here we are in this hiring cycle. And, that brings more questions into the equation.
By the way, we're right at 50 days since Urban Meyer was fired.
7 weeks. So you had a head start on a lot of teams.
That's right.
Which also should have been able to give you an edge in the evaluation of your coaching search. And look, I'm all about getting it right. So if making it take longer means getting it right, I'm all for it. But I think a lot of times, if you're not making the right decision in an expedient manner, I think it hampers a lot of other things that you would try to do as an organization with the subsequent hirings after your head coach is hired.
Let's take a look at the NFL head coach tracker. As you said, Logs, 5 teams have hired coaches. Well, 4 officially. 1 is coming officially after the Super Bowl. Matt Eberflus is going to the Bears. Nate Hackett to the Broncos. Josh McDaniels to the Raiders. Brian Daboll to the Giants. And then after the Super Bowl is done, Kevin O'Connell has an agreement apparently with the Vikings. They'll make that official by rule after the day after, most likely, the Super Bowl. 4 teams open, of course. The Jags, the Saints, the Texans, and the Dolphins are remaining.
Yeah, and then the Texans' job, I think that there's a lot of questions about that one.
It was reported today they're down to 3 finalists for that gig, by the way.
Well, and then the Saints, that was something that kind of came out of left field with the retirement. And so I don't know what's going to happen there. The Dolphins, I think, also have, these are curious situations that remain. And the reason I say that is that all the openings that you looked at, for the most part, with the Giants, the Vikings, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Bears, for the most part, it was kind of a hiring GM and coach. I think the one thing that was a little bit different was the Denver Broncos situation, because Patton was hired, I believe, after Vic Fangio was hired. So, but for the most part, you've brought two guys in together. And so with the Dolphins, the Jaguars, and the Saints and the Texans, there's existing personnel guys that are already there. And could that be a hindrance to some people? Maybe, because a lot of times there's not a relationship with what may be viewed as a top candidate with the person that is in personnel. So a lot of times when they are hired together, they're kind of joined at the hip in some respects. Just like, with Dave Caldwell and Gus Bradley, when they were hired, it was kind of, okay, these two guys are together for the most part.
Let's take a look at the Jaguars interview tracker via NFL.com, and they have listed all of the reported names that have interviewed with the Jags. And it's a long list for the Jaguars, by the way. We mentioned some of those earlier have already gone on to other gigs. Eberflus, Hackett, Kevin O'Connell is the pending hire by the Vikings. And, some of these other names, Dan Quinn was at least in touch with the Jags, but then decided to remain the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Some of these guys got second interviews, some did not. But it did feel like there was a report this past week that the Jaguars were putting in to talk to Kevin O'Connell, but then they had to wait until after the Super Bowl. Well, now O'Connell's been hired. That was like the latest.
Well, they had to wait after the Super Bowl because they didn't have a first interview
in that window. They didn't have it. But since he is now,
which, by the way, just real quick, by the way, that if that were the case, if you tried to interview Kevin O'Connell and you weren't aware of the rules of not having the first interview, then shame on you for not knowing the rules.
Correct. That was the latest name to be added to the Jaguars list. I believe the last name. So since he's been hired, I don't think there are any more dark horse candidates coming out. You would think at this point, maybe there are, but it's going back to the names that we've seen reported the last couple of weeks. Guys like Leftwich and Peterson.
Well, and I think first of all, both of those would be tremendous candidates. I think Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winner, proven guy. Byron Leftwich has got a link to the franchise. I'm not sure about the reports that he wanted to have Adrian Wilson in as general manager. Could there be a dark horse candidate? I say absolutely. And the reason I say that is that a lot of the teams in this head coaching hiring process have been very transparent. And that, okay, hey, we interviewed, they put out on Twitter, we interviewed so-and-so, and tomorrow we're interviewing so-and-so.
That's right.
There hasn't been any of that
with
the Jaguars. It's been very secretive in some respects. And so when you say there are no dark horse candidates anymore, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Right? We don't really know. What the list, the interview list that we compiled there, that we just
NFL.com compiled that.
NFL.com. We didn't put that list together. That's what they're speculating, but none of that has been quote unquote confirmed.
Yeah, right.
So,
right.
So I could there be a dark horse candidate? Sure. Could be. Is it likely? I don't know.
That's the thing, right?
I don't know. It's crazy, right?
You could say no chance, but there's always a chance.
Hey, look.
Unless you're sitting in the room with them, you don't
that
really
movie
know.
Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. Which is one of the greatest lines ever.
So that's where we stand. And to your point, it was February 3rd. Right? There's only 4 teams remaining to hire coaches. Mm-hmm. These other staffs are already starting to come together around the new head coaches.
Oh, absolutely. Even Kevin O'Connell, I guarantee you, is already putting a staff together at the same time that he's putting together with his head coach a game plan for the Super Bowl. That's what you do. Look, if you've got an opportunity to be the head coach, you're not going to sit back and go, hey, look, I really got to concentrate on this Super Bowl. I can't worry about putting my staff together. What? No, I'm putting the staff together. I'm getting on the phone in my spare time every chance that I get, and I'm texting guys between, game plan meetings for the Super Bowl because I'm telling Sean McVay, look, man, I'm going to be a head coach with the Vikings. I got to get my stuff together, man.
Right.
Okay, you can handle the game plan. I'll help you as much as I can, but I got to work, man. So I mean, look, the guys are putting staffs together, and that's when you've had an opening for 49, 50 days or however long it's been. I mean, that's one of the great advantages to having the first opportunity at hiring somebody is to be kind of first in line. First of all, you want to cherry pick your head coach. And then once you get the opportunity to get the pick of the litter, then you can cherry pick or get the pick of the litter with your staff. And that's critical. I really believe that that's critical, especially when you have a staff that there's not going to be, or apparently not going to be, a connection with the past regime. For example, like the Baltimore Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
If something happened with John Harbaugh to where John Harbaugh decided not to coach anymore, they're probably going to hire a guy that has some connection to the Ravens organization.
Why wouldn't they? Yes.
Which then would follow that some of the guys that are already on the staff are going to be retained by the new head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. With this staff, which was put together by a former college coach, how many people from the staff are going to be staying on board?
Well, they've already started to go away. I mean, a handful have already taken gigs elsewhere or college jobs.
Right.
And there's reports that Joe Cullen is
There were people
no
taking
here.
jobs before the season ended.
George Warhop's interviewing. That was a report a while ago. So, I mean, yeah.
So, I think that's the hard part, and I think that makes it a little bit frustrating is that, okay, did you get the pick of the litter from the head coaching availability? I mean, you could say maybe not. Maybe you do. Maybe you're going to get the guy that you were tagging all along or that you had in your sights all along. But when it's been 49 or 50 days, sometimes it gives the appearance, certainly, that that's not the case. And then I can tell you right now that you're losing out on hiring staff. Fact. Indisputable. You are losing out on hiring the best of the best from a staff perspective.
All right, here's a question for you. Maybe I'm going to get an answer to this question. We want answers on this show.
I
want to. How important is the staff as opposed to the talent and the personnel? The talent, you have to have the talent. How much can the staff actually do if you're, really talented?
I'm still a big believer in that coaching matters.
Okay.
And I've heard many people talk about it's not about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And that's true. But X's and O's matters too. And anybody that believes that any part of an organization is not as important as another part should be fired immediately.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm a strong believer in that everything matters. And when I say everything matters, from the assistant coaches that you have to your coordinators to your head coach, and obviously the head coach has to be a tremendous leader, who you have in management from a personnel standpoint, who's picking the players to come in, that matters. It matters the players that you have and the background and the values that they bring from a playing skill set standpoint, but also from a value standpoint and how they're built internally. It all matters. And if you're not trying to get better in all areas and getting the best that you can be in all areas, then I think you have less of a chance of being a consistent winner. That's one of the beauties when you look at the organizations that have a history of winning. They have a history of consistency with their coaching staffs and from an organizational standpoint. And they've got quality people. The New England Patriots, it starts with one guy in Bill Belichick. Okay, but he doesn't do it by himself. He has a trusted collection of people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy to become part of that circle of trust with Bill Belichick. And I bring up the Ravens because the Ravens have been able to do it through multiple types of quarterbacks. They've been able to do it through multiple personnel executives.
Mm-hmm.
From Ozzie Newsome to the new guy, what's his name? Drawing a blank. But anyway, the new guy that they have who worked under Ozzie and who, by the way, refused many jobs to stay on board with the Ravens because he knew that he was going to be the eventual replacement to Ozzie Newsome. But, I mean, that's what you need to strive to be. I mean, that organization, I think, has done a fantastic job. And they have groomed a lot of coaches from their own staff. How many coaches did you see them have to where all of a sudden they lose a coordinator, whether it be offensive or defensive, and then they're just promoting from within?
Guy, here they go.
Because they know the way that they want it done in Baltimore. And I have great appreciation for John Harbaugh. I think the ownership in Baltimore, Ozzie Newsome, I think, helped set a standard there, and that's why they win all the time.
We saw it firsthand training camp a few years ago, going up there and seeing how they work in the building and operate their organization. Firsthand look at it for the Jaguars a few years back. Let's come back in a moment. Plenty more ahead. A little later, we'll go around the National Football League. Plenty of storylines, and we're not even to the Super Bowl yet. We're over a week from the Super Bowl, and it feels like this has been the longest offseason ever.
By the way, that was one of the best championship weekends in a long time.
We'll get to that when we return as well. We are off and running. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Jaguars Happy Hour is brought to you by Dreamfinders Homes, homes that fit your lifestyle. And by Baptist Health, changing healthcare for good.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat, even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Your family isn't like anyone else's. Your home shouldn't be either. At Dreamfinders Homes, you can build the home of your dreams in one of their 30-plus communities in Northeast Florida. Choose from luxury single-family homes or maintenance-free townhomes from the 200s. Dreamfinders specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. To find out more, call 904-738-0165 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Shopping Publix with delivery and curbside pickup powered by Instacart makes getting your groceries more convenient than ever. It's basically the best thing since sliced bread, which you can order from the Publix bakery. You can also get fresh meats and cheeses from the deli, delicious produce, and Publix premium ice cream, all without having to leave your couch or car. Orders are available in as little as 2 hours. Prices vary from in-store. Fees, tips, and taxes may apply. Subject to terms and availability. Visit Publix.com/shop. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
In America, the future belongs to everyone. So we built the trucks of the future for everyone. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 44 years straight. Built for performance and capability on and off-road. Because the trucks of the future aren't built for a few. They're built for America. Ford F-Series. Drive one today. Based on 1977 to 2020 calendar year total sales.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mike Dempsey and Fat Tony, Jaguars Today. All Jaguars, all NFL, all the time. 10 to noon weekdays on 1010XL.
Welcome back. It's Jaguars Happy Hour, Thursday afternoon. JP Shadrick, Jeff Lageman. Glad you're along with us. Joe Fortunato on the audio, Brent Reber on the video side. The offseason is here. The wheels are turning for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we think. There's some reports and things going on, but nothing has been announced as of yet. Some of the reported names that have interviewed for the Jaguars head coaching job have taken other gigs already, of course. So, it kind of feels like the wheels are turning, though, right? I mean, there's these extra. Well, I mean, to me, because you're
turning or spinning.
Well, they're not spinning too quickly, apparently, but you're starting to see these other names come out. Like today, there was a report again today from Mike Garafolo of NFL Network that the Jaguars are working toward adding former Vikings GM Rick Spielman to the front office in an unspecified role. He's had a long career in the National Football League. He's been the GM of the Vikings since 2012 through this past season when they cleaned house there. He'd been with the Vikings since 2006. So you start seeing names like that. You mentioned Adrian Wilson a moment ago with the Leftwich stuff last week. Is this more than a head coaching change? Trent Baalke is the general manager for the Jaguars. What does Mr. Khan have in mind? That only Mr. Khan knows that, obviously.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There have been reports that some people were not thrilled about the opportunity here because Trent Baalke was in place. Is that factual information? I don't know. I haven't talked to any of those people. But I will tell you this, that when reports start coming out about a Spielman or a Wilson or something of that nature, reports, the old saying is where there's smoke, there's fire. But in what capacity?
Right. What is the structure of the organization going to be?
And that's why you just have to kind of wait and see what ownership is going to do, because, that's his decision. When he decides to make the call on who and then also what, he's going to let us know. And the structure could be anything. Could it involve an EVP to where the EVP has a general manager and a coach? Yeah. Could it be where you just have a general manager and a coach and then they both report directly to him? Sure. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's a right
to the
answer.
GM and then to the owner. There's all those possibilities.
The one thing I think that I'm a big believer in, and that when somebody gets an opportunity to be the head coach, there's going to be a lot of money with the opportunity of being a head coach. And so I think some people view that as quote unquote striking the lottery. And so and that's why I think this hiring process can be so challenging, is that you want to make sure that you get a person that it's not about the money. It's about the team, and it's about winning. It's about culture. It's more than just about me, the head coach. And boy, am I going to be set for life because I just got $25 million guaranteed. That's not what it can be about. And those people are hard to find, okay? Look, Andy Reid, I think, is a perfect example of the type of guy that you're looking for. John Harbaugh, they're driven more than just money. Do they want to be compensated fairly? Sure.
Yeah.
Everybody does.
Absolutely.
But it's more than just the money. And so I think that's very challenging. It's no different than finding the right people on the personnel side of things. You have to find people whose agenda includes getting this organization to be a perennial winner, a consistent winner. It's not about, well, I want to make sure that I'm taken care of. I want to make sure that my political power is still intact. I want to make sure that my contract is where it needs to be. No, you got to find people that they are so far above and beyond that. It's about the brand and the logo and the team and the people in the organization. And that's not easy to find.
No, it's really not. There's only a few organizations around the league I think you could say have been stable over a long period of time in that regard.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. And what's the right way to do things? I don't think there's a right way. There's some teams that ownership is involved in a day-to-day process. And I think that helps in a lot of ways for the awareness of things that are happening on a day-to-day basis. if you have somebody like Mr. Khan who is involved in other businesses and is not here on a day-to-day basis, do you need to have that EVP, that person who can see things on a day-to-day basis and who can evaluate with experienced eyes? I mean, look, there's a case to be made for having a lot of different formulations and setups to the organization structure. But most importantly, you have to find those people that the agenda is lacking, and it's, when I say the agenda, the personal agenda takes a back seat to what the team and organizational agenda is.
I'm just off the cuff here thinking, around the league, top cultural destinations around the league, most stable organizations. The number one in my mind is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah,
they don't change coaches ever. The ownership's been there forever.
Well, Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots, Baltimore Ravens.
Right, but the Steelers even over a longer period of time, right? I mean, since the 70s, right? And they've been consistent throughout that. There's been some change in New England now as of the last 20 years. Obviously, they've had a lot of success.
Seattle's another one.
Seattle
has had consistency for a while.
Yeah. So, but there aren't many. I mean, Dallas has not had a lot of success over the years since the Super Bowl runs of the 90s. They've had the same ownership. That's been consistent. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of success off the field, obviously. And that's the example of ownership being involved every day. I mean, he's right there in the mix.
Owner / general manager Jerry Jones.
Owner / whatever he wants to do.
That's his title.
That's his gig. So there's different ways to go about it, but there are just really a handful that I think you could define as really stable organizations in the league.
There's not a lot, but that's what you always strive for.
Yeah.
That's what you strive for, and
Baltimore being there, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. Baltimore is by far in there. I mean that's I think that's the organization that has had more turnover but less change than most teams, and which is kind of odd to say that, more turnover but less change. Mm-hmm. And that's just because they've been able to develop not only players, but they've developed people in their organization from a staffing standpoint, on the coaching staff and on the personnel side of things, and that's been impressive. And I mean, it's not very often that you see somebody from the Ravens organization that just leaves. I mean, they're Ravens,
they
right?
Develop
that's kind of
what
they are.
Ravens for life kind of deal.
So I appreciate that, but it's a challenge. It's always a challenge, and it's not easy to get it right. So as I said before, 49, 50 days, here we are. And is it an optimum set of circumstances where we're at right now? No. Would you like to have had that position filled? Absolutely. Because there's so much more to do after you name that person.
And don't look now. The combine is in a month, and then free agency starts in a month and a half.
Well, in putting a staff together,
right?
There's so much to do. When you think about, okay, the combine's so close, the free agency is not that far, but I mean, I go back to that the staffing part. You're missing out. Right now, you're missing out, and you can't argue that.
When we return, it's college prospect scouting season. The All-Star Games are happening. We'll get Jeff Lageman's annual Shrine Bowl story. You bring that up every year, I think, around this time, which is good.
Well, and when you say about all these All-Star Games, you're also missing out with a staff's opportunity to evaluate, to add to your personnel department's opinion.
Right. Scouts are scouting, but the more eyes, the better.
Coaches have an opinion in scouting, too.
Sure.
Coaches have to give you directive. Hey, look, we're looking for this type of guy to fit this system. You don't know what type of guy and what type of system you're running right now.
They're just collecting information, it feels like. Let's come back in a moment. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Jaguars Happy Hour is brought to you by TIAA Bank. Turn potential into progress. And by Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat, even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Healthcare coverage for less? Yes. Now, because of the new healthcare stimulus, you can get better benefits, more coverage, and pay less with a Florida Blue plan. Claim your savings today. Visit floridablue.com/getcovered now. Policies have limitations and exclusions. If you already had health insurance in 2021, speak with an agent to find out how changing plans could impact your deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums. Florida Blue and Health Options Incorporated, DBA Florida Blue HMO, are independent licensees of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
It's a force that can't be contained, propelled by purpose, pride, and the power to protect. When winning isn't just the mission, it's your passion. You pursue it. You make power plays. You pick your team. At Farrah & Farrah, we deliver game day energy 24/7. Jacksonville.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
In America, the future belongs to everyone. So we built the trucks of the future for everyone. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 44 years straight. Built for performance and capability on and off-road. Because the trucks of the future aren't built for a few. They're built for America. Ford F-Series. Drive one today. Based on 1977 to 2020 calendar year total sales.
Your family isn't like anyone else's. Your home shouldn't be either. At Dreamfinders Homes, you can build the home of your dreams in one of their 30-plus communities in Northeast Florida. Choose from luxury single-family homes or maintenance-free townhomes from the 200s. Dreamfinders specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. To find out more, call 904-738-0165 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
When Jaguars news breaks, you'll hear about it first on 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Welcome back, Jaguars Happy Hour. And if you're watching us on Jaguars.com or Jag social media, it's a live look at the demolition of the practice fields for the new Football Performance Center that is slated to open for 2023 training camp. They started, a day or two after the season ended here and put up the temporary fencing, brought in a couple of mobile trailers for the offices for the construction, and then started tearing things down. The bleachers are now gone. Field 1, which was nearest to the bleachers, is now chopped up halfway. They're taking the drainage out of one portion. They're taking down the concrete wall on the south end. Well, there's a lot going on right now. At least there's some shovels in the ground, and that's a good thing to see.
Yeah, that's they didn't waste any time. And poor Field 1. Field 1 used to be one of those ground-up rubber inlaid artificial turf fields.
It's hot as hell.
And then
summer,
it was gotten rid of because it was hot and it was not the greatest surface in the world and turned into a natural grass field.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's going to be turned up and turned into something else. I think, first of all, it's going to be an amazing complex. And from what I understand, it's going to be very similar to the Miami Dolphins complex.
Yes, correct.
Some similarities there from an architectural standpoint.
I think that saved them a little bit of time because if that facility's already been designed a certain way, you can take some pieces of that. It saves you a little time in development.
Yeah, which is smart. I mean, in the essence of time. I just remember when you go back to 1995 when we didn't have a field at that time. And where those, I think where the fairgrounds are at, where was it? Right there by, I'm trying to remember the exact location of the old baseball grounds.
Oh, the Wolfson Park you're talking about. Yeah, it was kind of on the footprint of the practice field.
On the footprint of the practice field.
Right,
so we didn't have a field in the beginning of 1995. So when we used to go outside we would do some like plyometrics and stuff, where you're doing high knees and butt kicks and shuffling and all that kind of stuff.
I know all that stuff, yeah.
Right.
Of course.
I do. You still do it all the time.
I do it all the time, yeah.
And we would go out to the baseball field, Wolfson Park.
Yeah.
That's right. That's what it was called back then. So Wolfson Park back then. Yep. And we would tear it up. We're wearing
chop it to pieces.
We're wearing cleats, and I just felt bad because when you do football drills from the same spot, so we're just tearing up this outfield. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if I'm a baseball player and I come out here for a game or a practice, and all these football guys have been out here, and I'm looking at my field, I'm not very happy right now. And because our field at the time, which if I remember correctly, that used to be the old paint factory on the south end of the stadium. So they essentially brought in some dirt to cover up all the lead from the old paint factory, and covered it up and then put some sod down. And so we were practicing on probably some bad things for many years. And then it got moved to eventually the location that it's at now. But it's been a lot of transition with those practice fields over the years.
There was a lot of good teams on those early practice fields,
there
too.
There was some very good teams. Yeah. Very good players. Hall of Famer, as a matter of fact, Tony Boselli, Jimmy Smith, Fred Taylor was on those fields.
Jeff Lageman was on those fields.
Not a Hall of Famer. By the way, when do they announce the Hall of Fame? I'm rooting for Tony.
This coming a week from today.
A week from today?
That's when the honors show is. I believe it's during that show that they'll announce it. It's already been voted upon, but the results are not out there yet, so I think we'll find out Thursday.
I just wanted to know because, I knew it was coming up because it's always Super Bowl week, and I didn't know the exact date because, I think he's going to get in this year. And so well deserved.
All the other linemen are in. So
and by the way, just wanted to bring this up because the guy that did a radio show, and I retweeted what he said, and I think it was former offensive lineman that played in the league, Ryan.
What?
No, it was he does some radio stuff. Anyway,
Ross Tucker.
Ross Tucker, thank you.
Yeah.
Ross Tucker did a segment with somebody where he talked about watching film of the great left tackles during his era. And it was, and I thought he was spot on, and that he talked about, Ogden as being a really good football player, which Jonathan was. He's one of those guys that when I went against him, I really didn't have a plan because I didn't know what was going to work because he was such a freakish athlete and so long. And then there was Walter Jones and Orlando Pace and Walter Jones. And he brought this up that Walter Jones and Boselli were the two best, but he said Boselli was the best. And there is, in my opinion, he is spot on. I never ever watched one of my own offensive players with such great admiration as Tony Boselli. He was a guy that when we weren't on the field as a defense, I would get my cup of water and then walk back to a spot that I could watch him go against the greats, whether it been Sean Jones or Bruce Smith or whoever, and I'd watch him kick their rear end. And it was one of the great – I had a front row ticket, man, popcorn. Front row ticket to a great player, and I'm talking about a great player that was making great players look like they were nothing.
Yeah, sure.
And he was without a doubt the best left tackle in that era, and that's hands down without a doubt.
Let's hope the coronation begins next week.
The only thing that he doesn't have in comparison to some of these other guys is the longevity.
That's right.
That's
the
it.
only thing. Or he'd be in already.
But his heights for 3-4 years was higher than those guys. But it just, again, that longevity thing, a lot of those guys did it for 12, 13, 14 years, however many years that they did it. They just did it longer. So anyway, I'm rooting for him, and I will be jumping up and down if he gets elected next Thursday.
Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times, longtime NFL writer, tweeting out just a little over 20 minutes ago Here's the quote. Hearing Bucs offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich is expected to remove himself from consideration for the Jaguars head coaching job soon. Former Raiders interim head coach Rich Bisaccia and former Eagles coach Doug Peterson remain strong candidates, end quote. That's Rick Stroud from Tampa Bay about 24 minutes ago right now.
Yeah,
interesting.
Well, it's very interesting that somebody would remove themselves from consideration, given that, being a head coach in the National Football League is a tremendous opportunity. I think that's very curious. I'd love to know the reasoning behind that. There's a lot of speculation as to why he hasn't been hired yet. And it has to do with the general manager situation. And that's the speculation. I don't know if that's why he would pull himself out of consideration, but Rick Stroud is a reputable guy who has had very reputable information in the past. And I think that would be unfortunate if that's the case. But I will tell you that I think Byron Leftwich is a wonderful candidate. I think Rick Bisaccia is a outstanding candidate. As a matter of fact, a couple weeks ago I had a conversation with Gus Bradley about him, and Gus couldn't speak highly enough about him.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Great things to say about him. And then obviously Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl. And he kind of fell out of favor in Philadelphia, if people will remember back, because there was this falling out with the Carson Wentz situation. And Carson Wentz wasn't exactly handled with kid gloves at the last part of with Philadelphia.
Okay.
If you look back at that and you evaluate where Carson Wentz is at now, who handled that properly? I think Doug Peterson handled it right. And that he knew that Carson Wentz wasn't the franchise answer at quarterback. And so why continue on with a charade that he's going to be this great quarterback when he didn't have a belief in him? Because the general manager gave him this long extension? Long extension doesn't make you the answer.
Right.
And doesn't make you a great quarterback. Great play makes somebody a great quarterback. So I think Doug Peterson would be a wonderful hire. He's been there. He's done that.
He's been around the league forever, too. As a
been
player,
around for a long time.
He's a long-time player, quarterback for the Dolphins and the Packers and the Eagles, the Browns. The guy is a backup most of his career. So he's been around the league for a long, long time.
And he's an offensive mind.
Yeah.
And we have a great young quarterback here in Jacksonville that I believe very strongly in. And he needs to be developed. He needs to continue to be surrounded with talent. And most importantly, he needs to be surrounded with stability. And if you think that just because you have this wonderful young quarterback that wins are magically going to appear, take a look at the Detroit Lions under Matthew Stafford and tell me how that worked out.
Yeah. Right.
Not going to happen.
No.
That magic pixie dust of just having a quarterback and getting it all right doesn't work. You got to have that in place to have a chance, but it doesn't mean that you have it solved.
It's an organization.
Can you imagine if Matthew Stafford had an opportunity to play with a good football team for a long period of time, like one that he's been surrounded with in L.A.?
I was going to say, he's on one now, and the first year in, here they go.
Going to the Super Bowl.
That's right.
First year. So, that's some of those things that you watch and you observe the history. You cannot ignore, and you cannot allow them to be ignored in the decision-making process that you're making for your organization moving forward.
We'll come back in a moment and go around the National Football League. Plenty of headlines, storylines around the league. A little over a week away from the Super Bowl. As we just mentioned, apparently Bucs offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich expected to remove himself from consideration for the Jags head coaching job. That's according to Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times. We're back with more in a moment. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.
Hi, I'm Tito Beverage, founder and master distiller at Tito's Handmade Vodka. In 1997, we became the first micro distillery in the state of Texas, and we're still making the same smooth stuff after all these years. We're still cooking in a pot still, working with our dogs by our sides, having fun and tasting batches, and I'm still wearing the same hat even after all these years. Head over to Tito'sVodka.com to learn more about what else we're doing the same. Cheers. 80 proof Tito's Handmade Vodka, distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. Tito'sVodka.com.
Your family isn't like anyone else's. Your home shouldn't be either. At Dreamfinders Homes, you can build the home of your dreams in one of their 30-plus communities in Northeast Florida. Choose from luxury single-family homes or maintenance-free townhomes from the 200s. Dreamfinders specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. To find out more, call 904-738-0165 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
In America, the future belongs to everyone. So we built the trucks of the future for everyone. Ford F-Series, America's best-selling trucks for 44 years straight. Built for performance and capability on and off-road. Because the trucks of the future aren't built for a few. They're built for America. Ford F-Series. Drive one today. Based on 1977 to 2020 calendar year total sales.
Jaguars fans, here's a great way to pay with pride wherever you go. Exclusively from TIAA Bank, the Jacksonville Jaguars Visa debit card comes with a fierce look and fantastic features, along with the convenience to make purchases online or at millions of locations worldwide. And it's yours, free, when you open a Yield Pledge checking account. Order yours today. Visit TIAABank.com/JagsCard. TIAA Bank is a division of TIAA, FSB, member FDIC, and the official bank of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville Sports Talk for Jacksonville sports fans. 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
We're back. It's Jaguars Happy Hour on a Thursday afternoon. JP Shadrick with Jeff Lageman. Glad you're with us. The offseason rolls along. Reports this afternoon that Byron Leftwich is expected to pull his name out of the running for the Jaguars head coaching job, and that has the social media world abuzz. I'll say that right now.
The social media world has been abuzz, aflame for quite some time.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. It will continue, I believe.
I mean, people have a right to express their opinion, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think you just got to be respectful about it. But express yourself as you desire.
College All-Star season, Senior Bowl week. We were supposed to go cover, but we were had to hang back here just in case things happen with the coaching search. We weren't sure,
So you got tipped off that there was going to be a coach named?
No, not at all.
Are you lying?
I'm not at all.
Are you withholding information?
Is this? Are you tweeting right now? Is this what you're doing? That's what it sounds like on Twitter right now. No, so didn't get a chance to go this year to Senior Bowl practices and all that. Shrine Bowl is tonight in Las Vegas. They moved that location. Obviously, in the old days, it used to be out west.
Palo Alto.
Yep, and then they moved it to St. Pete for the last number of years in Tropicana Field.
Now, you don't want to be in California nowadays.
And now it's in Vegas at the stadium.
It's great. I mean, it's great. I mean,
and Bucky Brooks is on the call tonight on NFL Network. Our guy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. Good for him.
It'll be good.
That's a tough broadcast if you're trying to talk just like the game itself. But if you're a personnel junkie like Bucky, I mean, it's a great job.
These days, at least the last number of years, it's kind of the Shrine Bowl has been the game for the 4th round through 7th round kind of prospect guys. The Senior Bowl has been, usually it's the older guys. They have 2nd round of 3rd or 4th round for the most part.
What's the one then for the top picks?
They don't go to any of them.
Okay, well, okay.
They train on their own.
Give you an idea that years ago, the Senior Bowl was viewed. There was 3 of them in my era. Okay, you had the blue-gray game
on Christmas in Montgomery, Alabama.
Exactly, and that was considered like the lesser of all of the all-star games, and mainly because it happened before or during bowl season. It also was on Christmas Day, so there was a lot of things that weren't great about it.
At the Crampton Bowl. It's the name of the stadium.
Yeah. And then you had the East-West game, which was in Palo Alto, which I went to that one.
Yeah.
And that was actually considered a highly desirable all-star game to go to. And then the Senior Bowl in my era was viewed as something that you did not want to go to because they had practices that were in full pads. They had a lot of contact, and players that were looking at potentially playing in these all-star games thought that was a very high-risk proposition and a risk of serious injury, which many guys didn't want to even have an opportunity to partake in that. But the East-West Shrine game in Palo Alto was awesome. I had Mike Gottfried was our head coach of the East squad. Yeah. Jimmy Johnson, the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes at that time, was the assistant coach and soon to be named the Dallas Cowboys head coach right after that. That was we had a great staff, had a great time, had a lot of great teammates out there, and that was cool. In that game, I'll never forget that we won. We dominated them, and I got to play middle linebacker, outside linebacker, defensive end, and defensive tackle and nose tackle. I got to play 5 positions. Jimmy Johnson let me play all 5 positions in that game.
Pretty good.
It was awesome.
It's pretty good.
It was fun. A lot of fun.
I love this story every year. I told you the story comes around this week every year.
The stories that shall remain untold was that they actually gave us these. They had a fleet of cars. Okay, and so so that you could get around town or get to the practice if you weren't going to ride the bus, or if you wanted to go get something to eat. And so me and about 4 other guys got a hold of a van.
Of course.
And so the
I have
van,
an idea where this is going.
The van used to leave a little bit in the evening and return very late, and we would take naps in the middle of the day.
Right.
So we had one guy that after we went out to dinner, one night and had some fun, we couldn't wake him up in the van to get him inside to the hotel that we were staying at. So we tied his shoelaces together and just left him in the van. So then the next morning we're going out, and I'm not going to name names here.
Oh, why not?
So then the next morning we're going out to the buses to head to practice. And we got to the van. We look inside the van. He's still in there.
Wow.
Just sleeping away. We're like, dude, come on, man. We got practice. And he's like, literally, we open up the door, and he's falling out of the van because his shoes are still tied together. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. We had a good time, Palo Alto.
Sounds like you did. What a week it was.
Yeah.
Back in, 1989. Right?
That would have been, 1989, January of 1989.
I won't tell you how old I was in January of 1989.
How old were you?
I was young. I was young.
Joe, were you 30?
Let's go around the national.
JP was 3.
I was.
You were 31?
7. No, wait a minute. I'd have been 8.
You were 8? Yeah, you were 8.
Yeah.
Joe was 31.
Whew.
I was 21.
21, 22.
21, yeah, 21. 20. I was drafted at 21.
Reber was -5.
Our man Reber pushing the buttons behind the scenes. He wasn't even a thought in his parents' mind yet.
Let's go around the National Football League, and the dominant story of the week. Brian Flores has filed a proposed class action lawsuit against the NFL and 3 teams in particular on top of it, the Dolphins, Broncos, and Giants, alleging that the Dolphins owner offered money for him to lose games in 2018 to enhance draft position, and pressured him to recruit a prominent quarterback in violation of league tampering rules. He also alleges the Giants used his interview only to fill the Rooney Rule requirements and had apparent text messages from Bill Belichick mistakenly texting him congratulations instead of Brian Daboll, hours before Brian Flores was scheduled to interview, and alleges that Broncos leadership didn't take his interview seriously a couple years back. He's seeking unspecified economic and punitive damages, and it has set the NFL world ablaze.
Well, he made a lot of serious accusations, and I know that there were some statements that were issued to refute some of the allegations that he made. And the one thing that I really don't understand, just going back before the lawsuit happened, was how does Brian Flores get fired? I mean, seriously. He has been, I think, has done a really good job as a head coach in managing a situation in Miami, and has continued to get teams to play better down the line. The situation appears that, and I don't know if this is ownership or there was a battle between him and the general manager that happened, and he lost, which that's happened before in the National Football League. Yes. But the allegations are very serious, and I think there definitely has to be something done to change the way that the hiring process is currently working, because out of all of the openings that have been filled so far, there hasn't been a minority candidate, and there's some qualified
candidates, but not a hiring.
Yes. There has not been a candidate hired.
Correct.
I think that's a problem. I think that's a major problem. I also think that I know that the intent of the Rooney Rule is what it is, but there's got to be a better way to accomplish the diversity that the league is trying to reach, and I don't know the answer to that. But I think it will open up a lot of eyes. And I think Brian Flores has taken a very bold step, because it could essentially end his career, much like Colin Kaepernick in the National Football League. And I just wondered also, what will it do to his relationship with Bill Belichick, which I know a lot of people say that doesn't matter because it's more important to address some of the bigger issues. And I get that. But you want to have as many allies in this struggle to gain attention to the issues that you're trying to point out. And so crazy situation, and I think it certainly is an issue that creates a black eye on the league, because if you look at what's happened so far, it's hard to argue that things shouldn't be done differently.
Only one African-American head coach in the NFL at the moment.
And he's one of the most successful
ones.
Mike
Tomlin, yes.
And I thought Brian Flores had a lot of the same qualities of Mike Tomlin. I'm surprised that Brian Flores hasn't gotten an interview here. And that's just my personal opinion. I think very highly of Brian Flores as far as the job that he had been able to do in the first couple of years. And if the allegations about him getting paid to lose are true, oh boy.
Yeah, that's not good.
Oh boy.
Other news this week: Tom Brady retired after 22 seasons.
Awesome.
They made it officially official this week.
He's awesome.
He's the GOAT. He's just put him in the hole now.
Yeah, it's not even close. That he is the greatest of all time. He has been a total class act. And he did more. I think he did more this year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than last year that any other player is capable. Any other player in the history of the National Football League, he did more for that organization last year than any player has ever done for an organization, as far as from a leadership standpoint. And I'm talking across the board, a leadership standpoint in the locker room with players, and from a leadership standpoint with the coaching staff, the ownership, organization, everything.
And that last run with guys who've been one team for a long time and then go somewhere at the tail end, a lot of times doesn't go that well. This is certainly the exception to that. Washington football team has a new name, the Commanders.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you think?
The whole process was kind of, they got a helicopter that let the cat out of the bag. Joe Theismann, in typical form, couldn't keep his mouth shut and not tell what the name was going to be. So, yeah, that's typical Washington football team, Washington Commanders. I mean, that's just a typical happening for that organization. I mean, that organization has been somewhat dysfunctional over the years.
Yeah, there's some former employees that were meeting with members of Congress today as well.
Yeah.
So all that's going on.
Yeah,
also.
if people want to term what's going on with the Jaguars as dysfunctional, whoa, slow down, take a look at the Washington Commanders.
That's Joe Fortunato on audio, Brent Reber on video. Jeff, we'll talk to you soon.
You got it.
Jeff Lageman, I'm JP Shadrick. This is Jaguars Happy Hour on the Jaguars Digital Network.